Here we go!
Hey everybody, this is CarManiac125, and I'm going to be replacing the hub bearing assembly on my 2008 Toyota Tundra. The reason why I'm doing this is because I was looking up videos to see the tools that I may need to go ahead and do the job, and realized that everybody that was doing these videos, they were doing them on Toyota Tacomas of all things, and seemed like they were passing it off as it's basically the same way as doing a Tacoma with a Tundra. But there is one little problem that I've seen with all of them, and it involves this socket right here. It's a 39 millimeter 12-point socket. You need that, okay? Everybody else was saying like a 35 millimeter or a 36 millimeter, and they didn't even mention you needed a 12-point. So, much to my surprise, when I first started to go do this job, I realized right then and there that I'm going to have to go tool shopping. And that 39 millimeter socket, that 12-point and half-inch drive, I had to order it, and the only parts store that was able to get it to me ASAP was O'Reilly's. So yeah, I paid dearly for that socket. Sorry about the train. It runs like every half hour or so through my town. Anyhow, tools that you're going to need a 17 millimeter socket, a wrench, basically to pull your brake calipers off, and also the hub assembly bolts, which you'll be seeing later on in the video. A 21 millimeter for your lug nuts, of course. As far as torque specs, I'm not the torque spec guy. You'll have to look those up. I know they are high up there in numbers. But as you see, I got myself a little mini sledge there. Also going to need a 12 millimeter socket. That's just to pull the bracketing that holds your brake line and your wheel speed sensor wires on the steering knuckle. The little needle nose pliers that you see there, that's to pull the cotter pin out for the axle nut. And yeah, you see I'm using power tools simply because I have them and I'm going to use them. It's cold in Ohio right now, so I want this to go fast and easy. Alright, let's get started. Okay, everybody. Of course, I gotta always find problems. Anyway, as you've seen, I do have a jack stand there holding it up by the lower control arm. I got a jack up there for safety. See anything wrong here? A zip tie holding that bracket I was telling you about with the tools that you need the 12 millimeter for. Somebody had snapped the bolt. So, unfortunately, I wasn't expecting that. I do have another zip tie that I'll go ahead and zip tie it back up for now until I can extract that bolt and put a new bolt in. But yeah. So this side's already been done before. It's already been touched before, which is telling me this was the side that was actually making all the noise. I replaced both. I'm going to be replacing both front ones, which I already did the passenger side. This is the driver side. Anyway, the first thing that you want to do is you want to obviously try to get that bolt out so you can get your bracket loosened. You have a steel line that goes up to it, which it goes to your caliper, obviously. But that all has to come loose so you can move the caliper out of your way. You also, oh, hold on a second, I need to get you some light. You also need to unplug that wheel speed sensor, and the best way to do that is right there. You see the little black tang there? You gotta pry it just a little bit with the screwdriver and she'll pop right out. Be careful, especially in the cold, because they break. If that breaks, guess what? Yeah. You could undo the sensor and pull it out with that Allen head. I don't know the size, but I'd rather you guys not do that, because it could cause you some problems, especially if you get dirt inside there, and those like to seize up inside there and break also. So I'm avoiding that by unplugging it. Be the best route. Anyway, I'm going to switch over to my other camera so we can get this dust cap off and start pulling this baby apart. Alright, I worked it around now. As you see, I'm starting to get it to come out. Come on, baby. There it is. See, I dented it up a little bit, which you can fix this with pair pliers, just moving it around. It's not a big deal, guys. I know somebody out there will make a big deal out of it. You see what these guys did here is they bent the cotter key down over the axle, which, you know, I've done them either which way, it don't matter. Long as the cotter pin's in there. I think I just said key, but it's a cotter pin. Anyhow, this is using that right there to hold your nut locked in place. And there may be some of you that already know stuff like this, that hey, that's fine. I'm doing this for people that may be their first time doing anything to their car, so excuse me for going through everything that you already know. Anyway, once you do that, sometimes you can wiggle when you squeeze those in and she'll start coming out, or what you can do here is grab it like that, pry it out. Okay, and that comes out. You're obviously going to replace this. I mean, we could reuse this if we absolutely had to. It's not really in bad shape, but you get a new one with your new bearing assembly, so put the new one in. Let's see if I can get this without holding the rotor. Ah, yeah, there we are. Alright, you want to get it flush with your axle. And now I gotta stand up and give it the old whackaroo. Make sure you don't hit your lug nuts. The reason why I'm keeping the nut on here is it'll help protect the threads on the axle. No, I'm not using impact sockets, God forbid. Anyway, 17mm. And you see I got a swivel on here because I'm using my impact rattle gun, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to be undoing the brake caliper brackets. I'll show you here. Anyway, that's the brake caliper bracket there, bolt rather, and down here. Okay, I was making sure you saw that. But you got to be careful with your brake line. It's right here in the way. Probably best to use a wrench, honestly.
and I could, but something's telling me somebody really tweaked these bolts, and I'm going to have to put some force into it. So I'm going to have to be careful not to goof up my brake line. I also need to take off that zip tie and unplug the sensor, which I'll show you here in a few seconds. You want to unplug this. You want to unplug this first, and your bracketing first before you undo the bolts for the caliper bracket. Okay, now got the smaller flathead. There, undone. Also, let me find a better way to do this here. You see these little brackets here? If you slip a screwdriver in here and be easy, work them, you can pop them loose. That'll bring the wire out. There, we popped it loose. Alright, got that out of the way. Now you could just leave it on that bracket, because this bracket's about to come loose as soon as I take that zip tie off that's not supposed to be there. Alright, I will come back to you once I get this out of the way, and I'll undo the caliper for you so you see how that's done. The wrench. These wrenches are awesome. Gear wrenches, and they're extended. Fantastic. Eric the car guy actually had a promo code last year, and I came up on my feed, and I'm like, yes. So I got them, and I have not been disappointed. Thank you, Eric the car guy, if you by chance see this video. Well done picking out these tools, buddy. This is going to be the reason why I get arthritis in my hands. Because I still got the old caveman mentality. Yeah, somebody cranked those on there hard. Stuff, fantastic. Alright, move this over here with your brake line, because it's all coming loose, and you see why I didn't bother moving it, because you have a steel line here. I have no idea why they are so prejudiced to have a rubber line going to the caliper and then up. I don't know, Japanese versus American, I guess. The more I think about it, I guess it is kind of a good idea. Anyway, as long as you ain't messing around with your brakes, you can keep everything together. You don't have to pull the caliper off and then the bracket. And that's what I'm doing here. So I'm going to flip this up, and I'm going to sit it on top of the upper control arm. Word to the wise, don't do what I'm about to do, because I'm just going to let it sit up there. You definitely want to get yourself some type of mechanics wire or something to tie it up, so you don't end up destroying your rubber brake hose. But I'm pretty confident today, because I already did the one side, and I don't mind doing another video for you on how to fix your own mess. And you can see they broke that off instantly. I wonder if they broke it off torquing it in. That would be hilarious. Alright, well, enough of that. I'll show you how to get this rotor off. You will see that there is a hole here, and there's a hole here. They have threads in them. I do not know the size bolt and thread that you would need, but you can run them in there and run some bolts in there, and it should help pop the rotor off the hub. I'm going to use the hammer method because that's just what I've done for years. But anyhow, just make sure it does not hit your lug nuts, or your lug bolts rather. In all seriousness, I'm going to actually hit from the top side, because all you're doing is looking to give it a good jar so it'll free up from a rust. Pop. Who needs those bolts, huh? Okay. Make sure our axle's still loose. Yeah, she is. You have some things to pay attention to here. Now, this is the seal for this old hub. For some reason, they like to rust and raise up, and they're going to block your wrenches. Okay, the new hub assembly, it has those bolts there. They don't come out because the way this flange is, they're just not going to come out. But you definitely need a wrench in order to work these free, and they are 17 also. That's why I got my gear wrench. Make sure you're going the right direction, for crying out loud. Like I said, that seal gets in the way. Luckily enough that this thing is being replaced and is rotted out, we can get it out of our way. See, look, it's just crumbling away. Somebody's been in here doing some work. I don't know what it was, but I don't think it was this bearing. Now that I see all this, then again, maybe it could be. I am in Ohio, so it could have rotted out pretty hard. Lived a hard life here in Ohio. The Rust Belt. Just work that stuff out of your way. And you don't need that gigantic hammer that I'm using. I'm just, I saw it and I'm like, yeah, that'll work, you know. I'm used to working with little, I guess. Anyway, make sure you're on there good. Yeah, I'm gonna do that again. Look at that, just start to crumble. I'm barely tapping this thing. I think I was smacking the hammer on the dust cap harder. Matter of fact, I know I am. I was. Alright. Make sure I'm going in the right direction. I only use penetrating oil when I feel like I absolutely need to. So you guys may want to do that. These bolts seem to be a little bit looser than the other side, so maybe they did do this bearing at one time, and that's, I don't know. There's more stuff to show you with this dust shield also, because it goes on a certain way, but they did make some reference marks that I'll show you that you can use to make sure you're on the right way, in case you're just pulling this off in a hurry and didn't realize which way it went. Anyway, I got the two loosened at the top. There's two underneath here. I'm gonna get those loosened and then I'll come back to you. All right, got the other ones loosened. Anyway, undo these as far out as possible. You may have to bring the hub out to get them out the rest of the way, may not. I did not have to on the other side. See, that's actually loose. It's just up against the actual hub. And same for that. Alright, so now I've seen people smack this with a hammer and a chisel, screwdriver, whatever, to try to break it free. But if you do all that, push your axle in, she'll pop right out. You see that seal? Very important to have that seal back on there. Okay. Here is the backing plate for the brakes. It's the brake dust shield. But anyhow, there's these reference marks, little nubs, and you also want to make sure that your opening for your caliper is in the right spot, and they slide right into place. Those little nubs go there. You can use a little something or another to try to hold that in place. I just kind of, anyway, that's your wheel speed sensor right here, and you see there's a little bit of lube on it. That's fine, just leave that be. Be careful because you have a seal right in here. Now you do come with the new seal for that also. I'm not replacing those because they're doing their job and they seem to be okay. If you're going to replace the seal, that is when you would actually have to undo the steering knuckle, which you have some big bolts here, and you know what? No, you won't have to do all that. All you'll have to do is undo your bolts for the steering knuckle, and you should be able to just swing this out your way. I ain't too sure because I'm not like I said, I'm not replacing that. It is I'm not gonna be out here all day. If any of you guys want to see something like that, just give me a holler, and I'll try to make a time where I can get this into a nice warm garage, and I'll show you how to get that done, because I'm keeping the seals just in case I do have to do it. But like I said, they're looking pretty good. This dirt that fell in there, you want to get that out of here. And so I'm going to clean this up, and I'll show you how to put the new hub assembly in. Alright guys, shake off any loose stuff. You don't want it to make premature brake noise or unnecessary brake noise. Anyway, here we go again. You want your opening out here. You got these little nubs there that push out. They go right into those little holes that they've chamfered, and it slips right in place just like that. Get that lint out of there. This is a Dorman bearing. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that may not like Dorman, but it's all the parts store had for me, and I needed these because the ladies were worried about driving. So I'm out here fixing stuff. Anyway, there's a new cotter pin. Here's the O-ring that goes around the hub. I'll show you here in a minute. And there's that other seal that goes in between the axle and the steering knuckle. You know, the seal that I'm not replacing because I just don't want to take all day. Actually, it don't take all that long. It's just I don't want to. I'm lazy. There, I said it. I'm lazy. Granted, if I seen it, I'd really absolutely 100% needed it, I would definitely do it. Anyway, that O-ring, just slip it on there. These things are lubed up like you wouldn't believe, so you'll be good there. And that's how that goes. Now, the tricky part is slipping that up in there. You can even use your bolts as kind of a guide. Get on there. Basically just wiggle it in. Make sure you get all that dirt out of there where that wheel speed sensor is. There's a magnet that's in the back of these bearings. That's where it picks up the feed from. I believe it's a magnet, but it picks the feed up on it. And if you by chance have a bunch of dirt and stuff inside there, you're gonna have an ABS light come on. Possibly even a service vehicle soon, or whatever you want to call that, check engine light, because it's a wheel speed sensor. Kind of important, guys, on these newer vehicles. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you to death by me running these in. I'm going to cut here and then I'll come back. Alright, I didn't run them all the way in actually, but you want to work these in slow, that way everything seems to go in nice and straight and doesn't get crooked or anything like that. And as far as torque specs are concerned, you're going to need like some crow's feet for your torque wrench in order to torque these. I am not doing torque, but I'll show you what you guys can do to get by without having to do that. I guess over many years of just being out in the garage working on cars and watching even some of them older guys, you know, master techs or whatever, they barely ever touched them torque wrenches, man. They got stuff done. Anyhow, I just got that one snugged up. Snugged up. Snugged up there. Yes, I'm going in a crisscross pattern. Not that I need to. And this is basically all I do to make sure they're tight. Again, you ain't got to follow me to a T. This is just to show you how to get the job done. And I thought it was important to tell people about that 39mm socket. And a lot of the YouTube guys, they make fun of the internet, talking about forums and stuff, but saying that they're always right, whatever. Well, that's where I got my information on the 39mm socket. So yeah, don't knock them all. Don't knock them all. And I'm gonna double check myself. Make sure we're golden. Yeah, we're good. There it is. It's on there. What we can do right now, actually, is we will get this ran in, not all the way, because it's going to start to spin. All I gotta say is, it was a Toyota technician that was working on a Tacoma telling me it was just like, you know, the Tundra, the same thing, which for the most part, yeah, but whenever he said the 36mm socket, he didn't bother to say, oh, and then on the Toyota Tundra, you need the 39mm socket, 12 point. He didn't even mention 12 point. So, you're welcome. I did it for you. I found the missing key, the missing link. This is all I was worried about showing you guys anyway. The rest of this, those other videos, they're spot on, dude. They are spot on. It's the exact same way for the most part. Like I said, it was just knowing what tools you needed. Alright, I'm not going to force you guys to see me put the rest of this together. I'm sure you get the gist of it by now. Anyway, if you like what you saw, please hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe. See what other kind of nonsense I'm going to do. See some other stuff I may mess up and leave in there so you guys can giggle, laugh, and crack on, whatever. I could take a hit, you know. Call me a hillbilly, whatever, I don't care. I'm good about that. I laugh at that stuff too. Yeah. I'll see y'all later. On to the next.